welcome back to the Breaker Bros. And tonight we're going to react to the Shemar Stewart signing.
Brother,
Um,
brother,
long overdue,
brother,
but what was your initial thought
banging, brother.
or I guess reaction when he signed?
Um, I guess Mike Brown and crew, they always win at this part of the season. They always, like the games they like to play, they always win. You know, they always get the guy at their price, right? Whether or not that's like good for the season, who knows? But they always win like the contract fight. They always nickel and dime and get like that last little bit of money or get their last little contract term they want. Whether or not it's good for like actually winning, who knows? But I guess it's good that he signed, but it seems like kind of a self-inflicted. It's just, I don't even know how to put it. It's just the way the Bengals do things. So not surprising. How about you?
Yeah, I think in this case, maybe the Bengals, what they were requesting wasn't really that, I guess, out of left field. It was pretty reasonable. And I guess after the information came out, after Shemar Stewart signed, I guess what got him over the hump was that he got $500,000 more sooner.
Well, yeah, I don't think he got more. He just gets it sooner.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's correct. Which is interesting, but I guess I am glad the Bengals offered that.
It's a face-saving move.
Yeah, I think that was more for his agent. Yeah, I think really what it comes down to is just maybe he had bad advice. It seems like his agent was probably dying on the wrong hill. Like maybe this makes more sense.
You can't leverage the Bengals. They don't care. You know what I mean?
Well, because really what it comes down to is that the money's slotted, so it like you're gonna get what you're gonna get, and it really did come down to the language and the fact that the majority of the other teams already are using this type of language wasn't like that big of a ask for them to add it, which makes sense because like I think they're just trying to get ahead of the curve. Because a lot of these deals, and even the early picks in the second round, they're starting to become fully guaranteed deals. So it's just they're trying to standardize like what they're doing going forward. And I want to say, our second round pick, Knight Jr., I think he had the same language in his contract to a certain degree. So I think they're just trying to get ahead of the curve. And then I was looking on Twitter today, and it looks like he officially signed. He's in the jersey, so it'd be nice to see him spring training. I guess tomorrow. They didn't have practice today, but no. If anything, I'm just relieved. I think it probably went on longer than what it should have. And then, if anything, I would assume if he could go back and change anything, is that maybe he would have just actually practiced and started sooner, as opposed to waiting this long. But I guess it goes back to what I was saying before. He probably got bad advice, and they thought maybe if he just held out completely, that would give him more leverage. But it just seemed like
again, I mean, the Bengals don't care.
Yeah, I mean, again, in most cases, like say if we were talking about the Trey Hendrickson situation, I think most fans would be on Trey's side versus Shemar's side. When more information came out, what the Bengals were asking was just, seems like
don't get me wrong. I am always on the player side, because if the money doesn't go to the players, it just goes to Mike Brown's pocket. That's not what I'm rooting for. The thing I find annoying is it's just that. I mean, I guess this kind of goes back to like the slow starts to begin the season. It's almost like they act like, well, no, I mean, they telegraph that they run it like a business, right? Like the team is for their family to have something to do and for them, their legacy, and for them to make money, right? It's not about winning. It's about winning enough so that they can continue to make money, right? So like you can't leverage that because they don't care. They don't care that their first round pick missed all those weeks. They don't care if he gets off to a slow start. That's just not. They won the contract negotiation. I think they consider this a victory, right?
No, I wouldn't say
like the ownership group.
I think this was just more or less just unexpected. Like I think had they would have like known that this would have gone down, like this situation would have caused that first round pick not to sign. I'm thinking they probably would have possibly chosen someone else if this was going to be such a big deal, right?
Over like a morality clause in a contract.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anyone. I don't think they could have predicted it. Is like at the end of the day, he still signed it. Like they got the language of that they were looking for over.
Yeah, but they gave up a week of whatever, right? Or like they gave up all the OTAs.
You're talking about the Bengals, but that wasn't the Bengals' decision.
No, it was both sides' decisions, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he could go back, I
sides
bet
decided
he
to
would
play
have just
hardball,
practiced. Because I think the advice that he got was that maybe if he sat out, he would garner more leverage or make the situation seem more serious or whatever. But
right.
I guess to your point, is like, you know, if you're gonna hold the Bengals front office to the fire, like they're not gonna budge. Like if any organization is gonna be stubborn enough to like hold to their gun, it's gonna be the Bengals. Like,
yes,
but I wouldn't.
They're the most stubborn organization.
But I wouldn't say they don't care. I think in a perfect world, I think they would obviously want their first round pick to be practicing and participating.
Then why didn't they just give in?
Because that language is important. Like now, like
not
going
really.
forward, this is not going to be. Well, it's not going to be an issue going forward because now they got their player to sign.
It was only an issue with this player agent combination, right?
Well, no, because I think the Bengals tried to do this last year with Mims,
and he refused.
Yeah, and that was the whole holdup was that Shemar's agent was like, "Well, why would we sign a contract that you try to get your last year's pick to do it?" He ended up didn't getting it, or like he signed real late, and they eventually got rid of the because like what you're saying right now is what they did last year. And now they're like, okay, well, we made it go one more year. Like, I think they're just putting their foot down and saying, like, okay, we're changing we're setting the precedent.
To me, it's like
I think they had to do it. I think it was the right decision.
You know what I mean?
Huh?
It's taking the season for granted.
Well, again, I don't think they could have predicted that he would have done everything that he did and waited this long to sign. In the grand scheme of things, it could have been worse. Like I was thinking this may have gone a little bit longer, but I think again, yeah, it would have been much better if he started earlier.
It's just the whole thing. It's just bad on both sides, right? Both sides are stubborn, but like.
But I can't blame the Bengals for doing it because again, the picks that were around Shemar Stewart's, like the player before him and after, signed the same contract. So it wasn't like what they were asking for was unreasonable. It was just, it
wasn't unreasonable to ask for, but I mean, the years on the contract matter, right? You only have team control of a first round pick for 5 years. So are they putting the first year at risk?
I think if it would have gone in sooner, like closer to the season, that would have been. But I think when more information started to come out, especially about his agent and like what was holding everything up, I think the pressure really started to escalate on their side, and I think that's why they finally caved. And I think in a sense, I don't think the Bengals had to offer the $500,000 earlier. But I think it was just more or less like, here, like you said, here's something to save face and make it look like you did something on your side. Let's just get it done. And they got their language. So I think going forward, especially next year, I don't think this is going to be an issue because now they like
on
going into
this
the situation.
specific thing, but I mean, what's the next thing that becomes an issue?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be something, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
I mean,
There's
if you
always
really
gonna be
think about it,
something. That's the best way to put it.
well, this was a pretty big offseason for the Bengals front office. If you think about it, I mean, they've accomplished a lot. They've locked down
Yeah.
their two receivers, and they got all their picks signed. They kept Kaseki. They've added, I don't know, I feel like a few veterans that I think people are maybe downplaying a little bit, but plus they extended their lease deal another 10 years. That was a big deal. And if they get Trey Hendrickson in, like, I think that was a pretty big offseason that they have accomplished, because I think going into the offseason, there was a lot of pundits saying that there was no way, especially coming from the Bengals, that they were going to extend T, Chase, and Hendrickson. And it looks like that may be
Yeah,
the case.
but not here. We've been saying that they're going to do that for a while.
I mean, that's true. But I think if you think like just maybe outside of Bengals fans, I think a lot of people believe that that wasn't going to be the case. And I think there was a point in the offseason where I think they were legitimately looking at either trading either T or just maybe just letting T go. We're trading Hendrickson. Like, that was a big possibility, but they ended up keeping their best players, which to me is a big deal. And it kind of destroys the narrative of, the Bengals front office being cheap, because they're about to give 3 really big contracts out to, 3 of their top 5 players. So I think that's going to go a long ways. And
I still think they're a little cheap, and I think they're very stubborn.
Cheap about what?
In a lot of ways, they are behind the times in their thinking.
They gave Jamar Chase, well, at the time they gave Burrow the biggest contract ever.
Right.
And then they gave Chase at the time the biggest non-QB contract ever. They gave Higgins a top 5 contract, I think, at the time for receiver. And they're about to give Hendrickson a top 5 contract as a defensive end.
Yeah, but remember this time last year, they could have had Chase done. But they did the same kind of thing where they...
Well, but the thing is that I thought we did the math on that. And yeah, could you have signed him a little like cheaper, like a yearly average? Yeah. But I thought we did the math.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about antagonizing your best players and then not being ready for September games, right? Like the week 1 counts, and like the organization, like
I feel like they're
monkey
getting
around
close
with,
to
like, these
signing Hendrickson,
contracts,
because the more recent reports on Hendrickson, they got the total amount correct. Like, I think that has been agreed upon.
Okay, what's the total amount?
Well, that hasn't been reported, but where they're stuck is the guaranteed years. Like, the Bengals only wants a guaranteed money within the extension for the first year, to whereas Hendrickson wants it more aligned with the other elite pass rushers, where they have guarantees all the way up until the 3rd year. So I think most people can obviously conclude that the middle ground is got to be to the 2nd year. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's got to be close. And if they get Hendrickson in within the next week or so, I think they're in a pretty good place. Yes, could they have had their players in sooner? I agree, but it's still 10 times better than what it was last year at this point. If they get Hendrickson within a week.
Last year.
No, because remember Chase, he was showing up, but he wasn't really practicing.
Yeah.
So he didn't really practice
Chase is
until
the
the first
equivalent
week of the
to
actual
Trey
season.
Hendrickson, right?
Yeah, but like I said, if Hendrickson comes in within a week, he'll still have over a month before the season actually starts. He's not going to miss any preseason games. I mean, if they're all the way up to the point where they're just stuck on guaranteed years, I think they're pretty close. Like, if they got the overall amount of like that's already been finalized.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about the antagonizing part. Like,
I don't know. It's weird because, like, overall, yeah, I think they could probably be a little bit more loose on their money, but at the same time,
No. I
Hendrickson
mean,
signed an extension. Like he didn't have to
like
do that.
the sense of urgency, being proactive about it, not having him on ESPN talking about how they haven't even talked to me, they're not even returning my calls. That kind of crap.
Yeah, because that's their leverage. It's on their timeline.
Yeah, that's my point. Is their timeline doesn't seem to like worry about like when the season starts and like getting players ready to go.
I get it to the
team
extent
ready to
is
go.
that who going into the offseason, who was the number one priority?
Going into last offseason,
Well, this offseason.
I can't remember. Chase, right?
Yeah,
was
Chase.
unsigned
Usually
in the
Chase, right?
offseason? Yeah.
And then the whole deal with Chase, luckily for us, is that he wasn't really gonna like initiate his deal unless Higgins was part of the package, right? And then that became the
I
whole
don't
like
believe
focus. Huh?
I said I don't believe that.
I mean, that's what they said. I mean,
Yeah,
it
that's
kind of
silly.
correlates because I think
I mean,
there was
I'm
a
sure it was a
report.
preference that they or whatever, but I mean, if you throw enough money, I mean, if the money's right, they're gonna sign.
I think that's true because I think what happened was the Bengals were heavily negotiating with I think Chase and probably
Mhm.
Trey at the same time, and they weren't really getting anywhere with Trey because they were stuck at whatever point they were at that time. And then Chase made it clear, like, "Hey, I'm not going to do this unless you start getting Higgins involved." And then that's why
Yeah,
they
but
signed at the same
Trey
time.
wasn't, from my memory of the offseason, Trey wasn't upset until after the Higgins Chase thing was done. There was like months after that before he started to like talk to the media and say, "Hey, they're not returning my calls."
Yeah, because I think they were at a number already, and then like because like for both sides, it is kind of early, right? Like, yeah, if you get it done that early, great for everyone.
I
But
don't think
if
it's early. I think it's late now, right? Because he's missing training camp.
no, at that point when Chase and Higgins sign, it's still pretty early.
Yeah.
Like, you can get a deal done that early if both sides are pretty much at the seeing eye to eye, and there isn't like any disagreements. Of course, you're going to sign that early. But when you're in like the Bengals and Hendrickson situation where he's asking for like top dollar or close to top dollar, and the Bengals are at a certain number because, like, again, we kind of did the math, and because Trey already signed his extension a few years back, which he probably shouldn't have done. It kind of put him in a position, or at least for the Bengals, where they're like, well, hey, you signed this deal, like, we want to give you a raise, but we're not gonna like basically add back pay because you signed a deal too early. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where the dysfunction was, is that from Trey's eyes, he thought that I guess because they said that they would, continue to talk and they were going to make things right going forward. But that doesn't mean that an NFL team is going to look at it and be like, oh, well, we underpaid you this most recent contract extension, so we're going to add that to the next contract extension. That's not how they look at it. It's like, well, no.
Yeah, I know. The Bengals will get their number.
Well, I don't think any team is going to look at it like, if any team was in the Bengal situation, they would pretty much do the same thing. It's because
That's not true.
Why would that not be true?
It just look at the other teams in the NFL. They're giving the guys the money they want, and they're coming in.
I guarantee you, if it was the same
Like
situation,
TJ Watt got more money. Same deal as Trey Hendrickson.
But TJ Watt did not sign a 1-year extension.
Yeah, but he only
Like
had
2
1 year
years in
left on his
advance.
deal.
Huh?
I think he only had 1 year left on his deal, and they still extended him.
Right. Where the problem is, and to me, where the true issue is that it should have been Trey's agent that should have been like, hey, dude, this is going to be a problem.
So pro Bengals front office. It's hilarious.
Well, in these couple of situations, I get where they're coming from, because again,
I understand where they're coming from, but at the
I
same
can
time,
remember
that's
specifically
not,
back in that time, because I kept on thinking like, man, the Bengals
like
front office
the
made
Miles
such a
Garrett
savvy
deal.
move because
Myles
they were
Garrett
a few weeks ahead of the extension for Bosa, like everyone knew that the market, like this was not a surprise. So the fact that Trey signed it early before Bosa, like that's kind of on him and his agent. Like everyone knows is that you wait, especially if you know a big contract's going to be signed that's going to reset the market. You wait because you're gonna lose money if you sign early. Like it's not rocket science. So
Yeah,
I feel like it's more on his
you're
agent.
changing the issue. Like the
It's not
Bengals just do things different than the rest of the NFL. I mean, they're cheap.
that's not true.
They'll lose games in order to win the
I
contract.
guess where I'm at.
That's just how
I
they
guess
roll.
what I'm saying is that I think the Bengals front office did a savvy move. They got ahead of the curve at that point. They're doing everything that what you're saying that they should have done now is what they did 2 years ago. Because when they signed that deal, it was early in the offseason. Even Hendrickson said that they approached him early about it, and that he was in, I guess, in a situation where he knew he didn't have to sign, but he still signed before Bosa. And I'm just thinking, like, I guarantee you, Burrow's agent or Jamar Chase agent would have not done that deal. Not even close. Because they knew it was only a matter of like weeks before the market was about to be
You're
reset.
talking about last year. I'm talking about this year.
That's the source of the problem is that he feels he's underpaid. If we go back 2 years ago, well, correct. But my point is that he signed too early. That's on him. It's not on the Bengals.
It's on the Bengals.
For getting a good deal?
It's not a good deal if he's not playing.
But that's on him. He didn't have to sign at that point. Again, he only had to wait literally a month at the most, and he probably would have got $10 more million just waiting.
Yeah, but he wants what TJ Watt got and what Myles Garrett got, and they were under similar situations.
But it's not.
I think they both only have 1 year left on their deal.
But it's not.
They got a bunch more money.
And the reason why it's not the same situation is because they all did their deals after the fact.
No, they were under contract this year, and they said we want more money, and they got it.
Because they had already signed mega deals. They're still on their one contract.
No, they got more money. They have 1 year left, and they said, I want more money, or else I'm not coming to camp. And the teams were like, yeah, we'll give you more money. And they gave it to them.
Off of a higher base.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because Trey is trying to recoup lost money from the past. That's
He's
the
not
whole.
saying that. He's saying he wants to get paid like those guys. He's not trying to get like more than Myles Garrett. I bet you money that he would take.
He's not.
He would easily take what Myles Garrett got.
He's not. I get that. But the point I'm trying to make is that because he signed his extension too early, his base is much lower than their other base. So what's the incentive for the Bengals just to give him extra money because he signed a bad deal a few years ago?
No, because you want to win playoff games, and to win playoff games, you need to have an elite pass rusher. And he is an elite pass rusher, and all they have to do is give him money.
Right, and I think they were trying to give him money. It was just it made more sense to me just because of like hearing other people's perspective of the situation, and I think that's to me where the dysfunction is that again he signed his deal too early. Should have waited.
I understand that that's what the Bengals leverage is.
That's the source of the problem. Had he waited a little bit longer, he would not be scheduled to make only. I think technically he's supposed to be making what 21 million or something this year. Is that the cap number? I think cash wise he's only making 16, but like when he signed his extension, it basically added like $21 million to the average or something like that.
I mean, that
literally like a month ago or a month after he signed his extension is probably less than that. Bosa signed his deal, which raised like I think at his was like 30 million a year at that point.
Okay. I mean, we're just talking past each other.
Yeah, I guess. I just I don't know. Because I remember specifically in the moment thinking like, man, the Bengals were really savvy getting ahead of the market, and I just remember giving him credit for that. And now all this is coming back to haunt him because he just signed his deal too early, and that's the source of it. And had he waited, this wouldn't be as big of an issue.
I don't think that. I think he'd still be upset because he wants more money. Because the number's gone up and other guys are getting it.
Agreed, but again, had he waited, right, and his base was higher than what it's scheduled to be, it wouldn't be much of a push for the Bengals right now, right? If he was already making a higher base.
I don't think so. I don't think that changes it.
I think it does. I think it's just part of the Bengals just saying like, hey, we did a good
the Bengals
deal.
are going to give him more money. Because I don't think the Bengals have viewed him as elite. I think they view him as a guy who had a couple of good years and maybe the magic's going to run out, so they don't want to give him money.
No, I don't see that. Because I think the deal that they gave him was aligned with whatever the top 5 or 10 was at that point. It was just, I don't know. I think everyone knew that the market was going to get reset.
Usually, if you believe in a guy, you make him the top paid player at that position, knowing that in 2 months somebody else will be the top paid. You don't go like, oh well, we'll give you, top 5 money, The Bengals always win at the salary cap. They always manage their money well. They never overspend, right? But they also struggle to win football games, especially in September. They have the best quarterback the Bengals have ever had on the roster right now. And they are wasting his career being cute with saving money on guards and not paying defensive ends and having guys hold out and giving away games and then not making the playoffs. Like Joe Burrow is like a once, every 20, 30 years kind of player for the Bengals at the most important position when quarterbacks determine whether or not you're going to make a Super Bowl. And he's only got like 10 more years, 6 more years. We'll say 6 to 10 more years of being like a top guy. And they're wasting the window of opportunity arguing with Shemar Stewart about a morality clause and pissing off Trey Hendrickson and, having Jamar Chase pissed off at the beginning of last year,
Well, you can't conflate 2 different things. Like you can't.
It's all the same thing.
I don't know. I still feel like this year is much better than last year because I feel like the Jamar Chase thing was going on. The Trey Hendrickson thing was going on. Joe Burrow is coming back from his wrist injury.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like their offensive line has gotten better since of last year. I feel like, I guess since the start of last year, I should say. I get where the guards could be a concern. But if you look at the overall makeup of their team, I mean, it's so to me, it was such a big deal that they got Chase, Higgins, and Gesicki, at least for the next 3 years, if they want to continue that. And I think that's huge for Burrow to have his top 3 targets at least settled for the next couple of years. And, there isn't, at least on the offensive side of the ball, there isn't going to be anything slowing them down going into this season if everyone stays healthy. Like it's much different than what it was last year because they're going to have all their top playmakers. Because even T, like he kind of got hurt going into the season last year, which kind of slowed things down. Chase didn't practice it basically until the first week of the actual season. They didn't really solidify what was actually going on in the backfield, which I think is like light years ahead of where they were last year going into this year. I can see where the guard is going to be an issue, but I mean, I don't think it's as bad as what most fans think it is. The more I think about it as we go into the season. Well, no, because if if you look at the offense last year, if they were as good as what they were last year, and we essentially have the same offensive line, if not probably better, right? If the guards just get just incrementally better than what they were last year,
Okay,
it's going to make it that much of a difference. But I don't think you can get worse. That's the thing. It's like that we literally had the 2 worst guards last year. So I just don't
get worse.
I can't see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're hopeful that they solved the problem, but
I think we know at least
they're taking their time solving the problem. They keep trying to do it on the cheap. Is my point.
I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, it really just depends on what they're going to do with Orlando Brown Jr.
In the Bengals' mind, like guard is like not a big deal, and you can find any 3rd rounder and plug them in and be fine, right?
Well, I think we can agree Ford is better than what we had last year in Volson and Kappa. And
I hope so. I mean, I like Ford a lot. I like him a lot more than like anytime we look up numbers on him. Like they say, like Pro Football Focus has him graded way worse than what I see him as. I mean, I'm hoping he can play guard. I mean, I guess Volson's still on the team, right? So,
right.
Worst case scenario, you put him back in and hope he got better, or learned how to. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's wishful thinking. But yeah, I mean, you're starting a rookie again. I mean, it's always a projection if you're putting a rookie in, expecting them to play at a at the level of a good NFL player.
Speaking of that, I think to me that would be the main thing. Is it sounds like the majority of the starters on offense is going to play at some capacity in the preseason. But as far as the offensive line, I feel like that's, if any unit that needs to be out there for like a significant amount of time, it should be them. I feel like they need to be kind of broken in, especially interior. So I would like to see the starting offensive line play a little bit more than maybe like Burrow and, some of the receivers. Because I feel like that was a big problem too. Just when they weren't really starting any of their starters, especially going into like from preseason to the regular season, you could just tell like it was taking a couple of weeks for them to kind of like gel and kind of all be on the same page, which makes sense because like game speed is much different than like what you do in practice, and it's a bit scripted. So you need like that live action.
Well, they weren't even practicing, right? Ja'Marr Chase didn't practice in the preseason.
Well, I'm just talking about like more specifically on the offensive line, because it's like there's certain things in terms of pressure. I think that's what it is. Is like
I don't
feel
know
more
that the
pressure.
Offensive line got better throughout the season, did they?
I think they did. Yeah.
I feel like the when all the receivers were back, it was better. But again, the Bengals were expecting for a lot out of Burton, and he was.
I think
I thought
when Mims finally got in, started playing more, I think it, like you could sense that there was a, I guess, better play from, or more consistent, better play on that end, just because the person he was replacing was much older and seemed like he was probably injured starting in the first week, but I think he went out the 4th or 5th week, right? Can't think of his name right now, but he was that veteran that we got from New England.
Yeah, Brown, I don't know that he lasted even more than a couple weeks.
No, I think it was like week 4 or week 5 was when he got hurt, and then that's when Mims had to come in, and then when Cody Ford started to come in during midseason, I feel like that kind of gave him a little bump, because it was just seemed like Kappa and Volson were getting ragdolled like every other week. There was just like there was just some plays that just seemed like they were there. Like the defensive interior linemen were getting in so fast. But yeah, and again, Fairchild, if he's as advertised, and I don't know, I get like I said, somewhat of a Whitworth vibe from him. Like I feel like I'm not saying he's gonna be like that good, but I feel like he's going to be an upgrade from what we had. Like it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're right. I mean, it's a lot to expect.
Not really, because if Volson was like ranked, I think they were like 56 and 57 in terms of guard. Volson and Kappa, I think they were literally the last two. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't
like
think it's
other
really
teams are
asking much
drafting
for him to
guards in the
be
first
average.
and second round. I mean, you're expecting to get someone in the middle of the draft that's as good as someone drafted at the beginning of the draft. That's just not how things generally work. You have to get pretty lucky to pick like
Someone at the beginning of the draft?
yeah.
No, I think they're just asking them to be average.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
year
if you're
one,
getting
like a
selected in
first
the first or second round, I
for a
think
first
you're
round
getting
pick
asked to be
on the
more than
offensive
average.
line to be an average offensive lineman in the NFL. That's a big deal.
I don't think that's big of an ask. I think that's like what's expected. Isn't that like you're going to be in the NFL, you have to at least be average? I think is what the standard is.
Not from day one. No, it takes time.
I mean, he was still a third round pick. I don't think that's like. I think that's like the cutoff of when you would expect, because like after like the third round, I think you start to get more into projects. But I think all the way up to the third round, you can expect impact players.
Yeah, I see it more as first and second round. Really, if you draft a guy in the second round and he's like
It's the first 2 days.
if he's like an average NFL starter, then that's a good second round pick.
I don't know. I mean, you can get hits in a lot of in any round, really. But it just your percentage of getting better hits are definitely in the first couple of days, first 3 rounds.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that like other teams pick guards. Like some teams pick them in the top 10. A lot of first round guards, a lot of second round guards. The Bengals, you know. The last guy I don't know if this is true 100%, but the last guy I remember them picking in the first round that played guard is still in the NFL, right? Zeitler was like their last first round guard, right?
Yeah, it was either yeah. It had to be Zeitler, because I think Bowling was picked in the third round.
Yeah, I think Bowling was a third rounder from Georgia.
Yeah, didn't he contribute right away?
Yeah, but nobody would consider him more than an average NFL player.
Okay, well then I would take that for guard.
Yeah, but you're getting lucky if you can do that in the third round.
I think
That
at his
position.
peak he was above average for sure, because they extended him. I don't think they would extend anyone that was like low average.
Like Cordell Volson.
Yeah, but he wasn't extended.
I think he was.
No,
He's not extended?
no. If any, they took money away from him.
Oh,
The
I
thing
didn't see
was
that.
is that he was drafted, I think, in the fourth round, but he was playing so much they adjusted his salary or something. There's like something in the CBA based off of your starting percentage. So he got like an increase, and because he got that increase, Bengals negotiated with him this offseason and took some of that money away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because obviously had he not done that, they would have just cut him.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the Bengals treat guard like it's not a premier position. I think a lot
I
of
agree with
NFL
that. They
teams
kind of treat it like
guard
safety.
it's a premier position.
Safety and guard is like same priority level for Bengals, I feel like.
Yeah. But I think the trend in the NFL is that guards are considered as valuable as tackles.
I wouldn't say all that. I would say there's definitely teams, especially like the Chiefs more recently, right? They're paying their guard pretty significant money.
Yeah, that's the trend. It's becoming more valuable, and some teams are treating it as though it's as valuable as tackle. Because guards are getting like
It's not like
$20
tackle,
million a
though.
year contracts.
I would say the majority of teams have like paying a tackle like premier money, to whereas like it's only maybe percentage of NFL teams that are paying guards premier money. Like,
Yeah,
I think there's still a big difference.
I don't. I mean,
You would rather have an elite guard than an elite tackle?
that's not what I said. I said some teams are treating that position like it's a premier position and paying them as much as tackles.
Well, I would
Some
agree with
teams.
that if you're saying some teams, but you just said
Yes,
the
that's the
NFL
trend.
is.
The trend is it went from
There's
being a
a
position
distinction
that nobody
between
cared about.
some in the NFL.
What?
You initially said the NFL.
Yes, teams in the
Now-
NFL.
But now you're saying some teams.
It's a trend. Guards are becoming more valuable. Not all teams
Every
do it,
position
like
is
the
becoming more
Bengals.
valuable because that's just how it works.
What?
Every position becomes more valuable because that's just how it works. Eventually, you're going to get an elite player in that position that resets the market. Because for a while there, the cornerbacks weren't getting paid that much, but now that's changed already. Because Sauce Gardner got his deal. Because I think he's getting average $30 million a year. So and at the beginning of the offseason, the top corner was getting like $20 million a year. That's already changed.
Okay, well, offensive line is just one. So you got these guys making like 20-ish a year.
Okay.
What else we got? Right guard. You got guys over 20.
Yeah, it looks like
The
way more
get
tackles.
paid more, but guards are catching up because it's a premium position now.
We'll agree to disagree on that.
I don't know. I guess you could just agree to not look at numbers. I mean,
We are looking at the numbers. There's way more tackles getting paid in the closer to 20s than there are guards. It's not even close.
there are more, but the teams are paying guards more.
Okay, and guess what? They're going to start paying tackles more now as the market starts resetting. So I don't know. Agree to disagree.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to.
Well, I'm glad Shemar signed. Could have been worse. Probably didn't have to go this far. But
No, I mean, the Bengals are just stubborn.
I mean, they are, but I don't think they're wrong in doing what they're doing.
I mean, like I said, they always win. They always get what they want in the contract. Whether or not they win football games, that's different. But, I mean, that's secondary to making sure that they win the contract battle.
Yeah, I don't know. I would agree with that if they were being unreasonable, but in this case, I don't think they were being unreasonable. I think they were just trying to get aligned with what the NFL is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that there's going to be more fully guaranteed contracts, especially for higher picks, I think they're just trying to, do what every other team is doing. And this is not going to be an issue next year. So,
Why do you say that?
well, because the guy signed.
Oh, with
Like
that
they said, the precedent.
specific clause, maybe it won't be an issue, but it'll be something else.
I don't know what it could be because this is
Could be anything.
This is the first time this has been an issue since they signed the new CBA.
Yeah.
It hasn't been an issue before.
Mims was late last year, right?
But again, the main difference was Mims was practicing. I think that's another thing that kind of like, I don't know, exacerbated the situation was that he wasn't practicing. Had he actually was practicing and was just holding out to sign the clause or whatever, it would have been 10 times different. But I think it just made it seem worse because he just wasn't participating. And like,
Yeah.
I feel like if he could go back and change anything, I bet he would just change that, knowing what he knows now. Because now he's going to be 2 or 3 weeks behind all the other rookies. But again, I feel like it could have been worse because had they extended 2 or 3 more weeks from now, then you're starting to get into preseason games. But now he's not going to miss any preseason games. I think he's going to have enough time to make up the difference. And when he was there, when the rookies were initially reporting, he wasn't participating like on the field, but I heard he was still going to the meetings and doing all that stuff. He just wasn't doing the on-field stuff. So, but it would have been nice if he was actually doing it.
Sure. All right. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right.